G'day, I'm Kevin Young. I'm Australia's most successful property investor, but I started out poor, and I'm constantly being asked, how do you do it? How do you get there? You ask me, I'll give you the solutions. Between us, we'll make you wealthy. Hi, welcome back to Ask Kevin Young, and today I'll be asking Bernard Salt, a great demographer that knows where things are happening, where people are moving, where the future demand is. So a good question I often wonder is Generation Y, when are they going to invest in property?
Generation Y, a very interesting question. These are the children of the baby boomers. They're typically aged between 16 and 33 today, and so they're right throughout the 20-something time in the life cycle. And the difference between today's 20-somethings and, say, baby boomers at 20-something is that baby boomers had already bought a property by the time they were 25. They were married with a mortgage, children and careers by their late 20s. Their own kids are behaving very differently. They're living at home with mum and dad. They are known as kippers, kids in parents' pockets, eroding retirement savings. So the kipper syndrome. But over the next 10 years, we'll start to see Generation Y leave home. I mean, you can stay at home until your mid-20s. I mean, if you're still there at 30, then it's a bit sad, isn't it? So I think we will start to see Generation Y leave home. And I think they'll move in two directions. We'll see that hipster Gen Y move into an apartment in the inner city, and we'll see the traditionalists marry and move out to the suburbs and have children. So certainly over the next decade, I think finally Generation Y is going to move on from the family home.
But they don't seem to have the desire or urge to accumulate wealth via property. Is it shares the attraction, or is it just spending the attraction, or spending mum and dad's inheritance the attraction?
I do think that with Generation Y, there is this underlying, almost subliminal knowledge that they have well-to-do baby boomer parents to look after them. They've never been through a recession. They don't know interest rates at 17%. They don't know unemployment at 12%. Generation Y has been raised to adulthood in an extraordinary era of economic prosperity. They do not fear the future. They can live in the moment. They don't need to plan or provision for the future. The type of people that provision for the future are people that had been through a depression, a war, or people whose parents had been through a depression or a war. So baby boomers were motivated from a very early age to actually shore up their future, to take out a mortgage, to buy property, to accumulate wealth, to provision against a rainy day. Gen Y are absolutely fearless about the future, and it remains to be seen whether in fact they will regret that in due course. But look, at the end of the day, they will also inherit much of their baby boomer parents' estate. If you go back every decade, back to the 1950s, there's a recession every 10 years. So no one could really get too far ahead of themselves. There was this, we need to plan for the future, provision for the future, save for a rainy day. And that really governed the mindset of baby boomers, and certainly baby boomer parents in the second half of the 20th century. The last 25 years, no recession, everyone can live on the edge.
And that's been their working life. So is Bernard Salt's instruction to all baby boomers is to disinherit their kids?
No, I have two Gen Y kids, and look, I do think that convincing Generation Y to take out loans to actually get into the property market is absolutely critical. There is nothing, I don't think there's going to be anything sadder than seeing a 35-year-old wake up one day married with a mortgage and kids and thinking, well, I've really wasted the last 15 years of my life, the best young years of my life. I firmly believe the way to prosperity in Australia for the average person is home ownership. And the earlier you can get into home ownership, the better. It requires discipline, it requires sacrifice, all the sort of stuff that young people don't want to do. But in fact, that's the reality. There is no magic solution to this. No one's going to come and rescue you. You need to do it for yourself. And that is the best lesson that any parent can teach their kid. Rather than just saying, get out there and get a job, it's that motivation to take control of their own life and responsibility for their own prosperity in the future.
I think the big thing that's facing these guys is, as you pointed out there, is their parents are now living longer. Originally you said it was 63, then it was 78, now it's 83. So all these Generation Ys and X's and Z's and stuff, they're not going to have the money they think because mum and dad are still hanging around.
Yes, in fact, I can imagine a situation in 10 or 15 years' time where Generation Y, then by middle age, is sort of wondering, are mum and dad going to move on? But I can tell them now, mum and dad have no intention of moving on. They're going to stick around for a long time. And in fact, baby boomer women will live well into their 90s, which is another 30 odd years or so. So that makes Generation Y their late 50s and 60s by the time they are going to inherit anything, in fact. Look, my advice is, I don't care whether you're baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, whatever you are, there is no magic solution. You need to own this yourself. And once you learn that you own it yourself, you take responsibility and you take action.
Bernard, you've been excellent. You've gone over time, and I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.